Hello, everybody. Today is the 25th of October, 2025. We are gathered here today for the 205th session of Mindfulness for Beginners, conducted in English, organized by Nisarana Manaya. I would like to now welcome Venerable Homagama Dhammakusalathero to this program, along with everyone who's now participating via Zoom, anyone who may be watching us via YouTube or watching us later. Today, our program will, as usual, commence with the in-session practice of mindfulness. This will follow with the talk on today's topic. We have a new topic for this week, which is conformity. And then we will go on to presenting any reports we have received to Bhante. And finally, it will, if we have time, we will allow some questions. To start today's session, I now invite Venerable Homagama Dhammakusalathero for the in-session practice of mindfulness.
Thanks, Sonali. Hello, everyone. So we have few minutes to practice mindfulness, and we can do a sitting session, I suppose. For this, you can turn on your video if you feel like it and sit in a comfortable manner. Make sure that you are balanced and comfortable in your posture, and then you can gently close your eyes. You are seated and you have your eyes closed. Simply bring the attention to the present moment and notice what you feel there. You may hear certain sounds from your surrounding. And naturally, you start to feel the bodily sensations as well. Notice what sensations become prominent in your body. Maybe the breathing. You can feel the in-breath and you can feel the out-breath. We simply try to be aware of the natural breathing in our body. Sometimes thoughts, memories, planning, these things appear, but you can realize it and gently return your attention back to the breathing. certain irritations, pain in your body. These things come. Drowsiness might appear. But among these things, repetitively we bring our attention back to the breathing. Let's try to continue our mindful sitting for a few more minutes. Okay, everyone. That's about 15 minutes of mindful sitting. And thanks for joining actively. And this is just to give you an idea about the practice. So you can practice on your own and you can share your experience with the group. Sonali, with that you can take over.
Thank you, Bante. Next, we have the talk on today's topic. The topic for this week is conformity. I now invite Bante again to start the topic.
Okay, everyone. So this week we are starting a fresh topic and we can take some time to discuss about it. And let's say now in our daily encounters, most of the things that we do, most of the activities, we share these things with the others, the crowd. Most of the people, they focus on working, spending so many hours on work, trying to earn a living. Most of the people, they focus on raising a family, right? And whatever the other worldly matters that we deal on a daily basis, we share these activities with the crowd. That's what majority of the people are doing, right? So in this society, we also become a part of them and we keep joining them and following the people on these activities, on these tasks that we are doing daily, right? So in a way, we are in the group thinking. We work, we try to earn, we raise our families, and we do various other activities. This is how the society thinks. This is how the people or the groups are thinking, right? So that's how we are. And we keep following the masses, we keep following the groups or the society. It's like that Plato's allegory of the cave. Plato explains about some prisoners who are chained in a cave and all they can see is shadows, their own shadows casted on a wall in front of them. They have a fire behind them and all they see are the shadows casted on the wall in front of them due to the fire, right? So that's how they live, that's what they experience as the reality, and day and night they keep watching this and they understand this as their reality. Plato's allegory of the cave. One prisoner breaks free and he goes outside. And his experience is fresh, totally different. Now he sees a colorful, different world. Instead of the shadow world he has been experiencing. So seeing that, this particular person, he comes to realize that this is the real reality, not the one I have experienced before. and he comes to the fellow prisoners in the cave and tries to explain them about the real world that's outside. But the prisoners who are in the cave, who sees only the shadow reality, they don't try to agree. They don't believe this person, and finally they beat him up, saying you are a liar. You don't see the true nature of this world, right? So that way, similar to this Plato's allegory of the cave, the group thinking is always like believing what's in front of their eyes, believing the shadow reality. That's how the groups behave. The society, the people, that's what they behave, that's what they believe. They see a reality and they believe that that's the real reality. Sometimes they experience anxiety, tension, those things they experience. They suffer with various physical, mental illnesses, and that feels like their reality. They don't see anything beyond this reality. Day and night, they keep going with the group. They experience the friction, they experience the anxiety, and they think this is our reality. But as meditators, as mindful practitioners, it's like Buddha is coming and telling us there's a different reality beyond this world. There's a different reality beyond this shadow world that we are experiencing. If you go there, then you will be at peace. That's the very idea that Buddha is telling us. And the meditators or the practitioners, they try to follow him. And when you try to meditate, when you try to start your practice, it's not always easy. Because in our mind also, we are, in a way, we are following the masses. Basically, majority of the objects that comes to our mind, we keep following them. When thoughts appear, we keep following them. We live in a world where thoughts are overrated. It is considered as man's great ability, the ability to think, the ability to create, the ability to invent. That's what's appreciated in this world. Thoughts are appreciated. Planning, thinking, those things are appreciated. So we keep following such objects. Let's say a person who doesn't know meditation, daily or every day, every night, they keep thinking thoughts in their mind. They keep encouraging those thought processes in their mind. And they don't even know that they are doing that. But they keep doing it. Certain incidents appear in their mind and they repetitively think about those things. For example, let's say some bad experience with a person, a stranger probably, comes and, tells something hurtful, or maybe even try to beat you up, right? So these things happen. And when you experience such an incident, a stranger coming and trying to hurt you or trying to blame you for something, when you experience such a incident, what happens is that you keep thinking about it, whether you know it or not. The experience is past, but in your mind you still keep thinking about it, right? So that's how it works. If you encounter such a person, if you go through such a bad experience, then for maybe even for days, you keep thinking about this very incident. Various thoughts, various mental images appear in your mind, thinking about the experience that you had, right? So Buddha says, or Buddha identifies these things as marks of repulsive. It's like in your mind, you get a certain object that creates that's in a repulsive nature. This object, it has a repulsive nature. So the marks of repulsive, these objects come and you keep thinking about it. The marks of repulsive will increase arise and ill will in your mind, will expand it. And unarise and ill will arise due to the marks of repulsive. Unarise and ill will arise. Arise and ill will expand due to the marks of repulsive. So let's say you keep thinking about it, you want to get back at them, you plot a way to hurt them. So this way, the mind keeps thinking about this very incident and it creates plans. It wants to get back at the person who hurt you, right? So they say, time after time, these thought processes are encouraged. So when such objects come into our mind, if we keep following them, what happens is that unarise and ill will arise. Arise and ill will expand. These things happen. Not only marks of repulsive, even the marks of attractive, certain pleasant objects, certain experiences that you want to revisit. You keep thinking about them. So this way, in our mind, we follow the masses. We follow these objects that appear in our mind, and that's how we function. But when we are introduced to meditation, when we are introduced to mindfulness, what we do is we simply don't follow these objects. We try to anchor our attention to a simple bodily sensation, like we did during today's sitting. Various ideas, planning, memories, these things came to our mind, but we didn't go along with them. We catch those objects and we return our attention back to the breathing, a bodily sensation. That's what we did during the sitting session. And same goes for the walking. Various objects come to your mind, but you don't go along with them. You don't appreciate them. You realize repetitively and you return your attention back to the walking steps. Even in daily encounters, daily activities, we try to have a certain awareness of our body. A certain bodily awareness we try to maintain. If you are eating something, you try to maintain a certain bodily awareness about the eating process. If you are brushing your teeth, You try to maintain a certain awareness like that. So that way, you don't go with the thought processes. You repetitively return your attention back to a simple bodily sensation. That's what you do, right? So in a way, we don't follow the masses in our mind. We have been following them, and the only result we got was anxiety, probably mental illness. That's what we got. But now, when you are introduced to meditation practice, you don't follow these thought processes. Instead, you repetitively bring your attention to some bodily sensation. Those bodily sensations are not so popular, right? You don't feel like keeping your attention there. Repetitively, the mind goes to various objects. But this is the very training. If we keep following the masses in our minds, if we keep following the same objects, then the only result we will get would be tension, anxiety, stress, mental illness, those things. But if we don't follow these masses, if we keep our attention with a certain bodily sensation, if we do that type of a training, then what happens is that we simply try to create a certain peace within. That's the very idea. That's the very idea. We repetitively train ourselves like this. Earlier, you have been appreciating these thought processes, things like marks of repulsive, which created more and more ill will in your mind, and expand those ill wills that are created. That's how we have been following things. But now you no longer appreciate those thought processes. Naturally, these things, they lose their power. Things like marks of repulsive, things like these very incidents that happen. We feel friction in the world, but these thought processes are not encouraged in our minds. That change we do with the practice of meditation. It's like, let's say, when you encounter something difficult, when you go through a difficult experience, the recovery from that very experience, you have very little control over it. Some people might take a couple of days to recover. Some people might take a couple of weeks to recover. It's the nature of your mind. Let's say the resilience of your mind, the ability to return to normal after some incident, right? So that very process, we have little control over it. It takes few days, sometimes it takes few weeks. You keep thinking about this, these things keep coming to your mind, and after the process, you gradually return to the normal state of your mind. Then another incident happens. Again, you will have to go through the same process of recovery, right? So when you encounter some difficulty, when you encounter some difficult experience, the recovery from that very experience, you have very little control over it. The mind will take its time to recover, right? That's the truth. But let's say the very quality of recovery, the ability to recover, resilience, that you can improve with the repetitive training. Each and every experience, you have very little control when you encounter them. The recovery takes its sweet time, but you can change the ability to recover. You can improve the ability to recover. In Buddha's words, that is called bhavita chittang, a trained mind. The mind is able to recover much faster due to the repetitive training you have given. What is the simple training we do? We let go of these thought processes and we come to the present moment. Present moment is more like the normal for our minds. Those thought processes are more like a deformed nature of our minds, right? So we repetitively train ourselves to return to the normal. Although that training doesn't show changes in short term, when you train yourself, you see changes in long term. You realize earlier when something happens, it takes so much time for me to recover, maybe like a couple of weeks. It takes me to recover. And in the process, maybe another incident comes. Again, another incident comes. So you are continuously suffering because your mind doesn't have the ability to recover. But with meditation, let's say a few weeks of practice, few months of practice, you get to experience that your mind is able to recover much faster. You have trained yourself and you have improved the quality of resilience in your mind. Again, the same incidents appear, but you are able to recover much faster. Maybe it doesn't take 2 weeks. It only takes a couple of days for you to return back to the normal. You will always experience various people, various incidents. Those things are natural to the world, but you are able to recover back to normal much faster. That's how you can find peace in this world. Otherwise, if you think that you can avoid these experiences, if you think that you can avoid facing difficult people, then that's not practical in this world. You will always experience difficult situations. You will have to encounter difficult people in life. That's the truth, right? But your mind, with repetitive training, it can recover much faster. Incidents come, but you are able to go back to normal much faster, within a couple of days probably, right? So that way we improve these qualities of our mind, and simply by not following the masses. The objects we don't follow, the thought processes we don't follow. Instead, we repetitively train ourselves to be present, come to a bodily sensation. That's the training that we do, right? It's like not following the masses of your mind. Same as not following the masses of the outside world. In the outside world also, if you follow the masses, you won't be able to find peace. In the mind, in the inside world, if you follow the masses, you won't be able to find peace. So both in the outside world and the inside world, we try not to follow masses. That's the very idea, right? And the quote that you can see in the flyer, it says, Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. It's a thought from Mark Twain. Whenever we are in the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect, because surely something is wrong, right? Majority will always go in the wrong direction. It's like, group think or like herd behavior, right? The herd will always go in the wrong direction. So when you find yourself in the side of the majority, you are assured something is wrong. When you find yourself with the thought processors, like the majority of the mind objects, and then you are assured that you don't meditate. The meditation is not working. That's why you always keep thinking about these objects. You keep increasing the desire. You keep increasing the ill will. Why? You are following the majority, right? Majority of the mind objects. But in the meditation, we don't do that. We realize that this is not correct. We see the downside of it. We see the stress. We see the anxiety. We see the mental illness. And we try to return our attention back to the correct place. That correct place is not so popular. A bodily sensation is not popular, right? Even your mind will tell that it is not popular. Even the outside people will tell that it is a boring object. But we try to repetitively follow such an object, trying to find peace within. That's the very idea. Let it be the outside world, let it be the inside world. If you keep following the majority, then it's time to pause and reflect. If your priorities are aligning with the majority of the world, then it's a time for you to pause and reflect. Let's say your top priority is earning money. Your top priority is raising children. Then your priorities are aligning with the majority of the world. Something is wrong. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't earn money. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't care for your families. That's not the idea. You can do them, but make sure your priorities are different. Your priority is to find peace within, or your priority is following the path of meditation. That's your priority. But you do your responsibilities, you attend to your family matters, you go to work, you do all those things. But your priorities are not according to the worldly priorities. Your priorities are not matching with the priorities of the majority. That's the very idea. I remember one person, maybe like a couple of years ago, that person started the meditation practice, got introduced to the practice in a way, and after doing it, after getting the idea of the mindful practice, this person was telling, Bante, I still do my work, I still raise a family, but those things are not my priority. My priority is finding the peace within. But I still care for my family. I still go to work. I do them. But they are not the top priority. They are secondary to the object or to the target of finding peace. right? That's how we should be. Otherwise, if you keep following the world, you will not find any peace there. You can see how many people are suffering with mental illness. In this modern world, the number one debilitating factor is mental illness. How many people are addicted to drugs, especially young people, right? They are addicted to drugs. So many varieties are there, as tablets, some other forms, various varieties are there and readily available. Maybe among the teenagers, among the school children, these drugs are available, right? So majority of the world, they appreciate those things. Majority of the world, they are prone to mental illness because they follow the masses. They go with the group thinking. They don't pause and reflect. But for us, we got an opportunity for us to pause. We got an opportunity for us to reflect. And that's a precious gift that we have received. Because many people, although they want to find peace, they don't know how to do it. They simply think that praying will do. They simply think that some unknown God will create the peace within them. So they want to find peace, but they don't know how to do it. We, maybe due to past luck, past merits, we have encountered the meditation practice and we have done our practice into a certain level. And that's a precious gift that we have received. Majority of the world, they don't know. They haven't received this gift, right? So when we get this chance, when we are given this gift, we shouldn't refuse it. It says that it's more generous to accept a gift than giving a one, right? It's more generous to accept a gift than giving a gift. Because although you are offered a precious gift, if you are not ready to accept it, then it's a waste, right? So we are offered a precious gift. And most of us, we are ready to accept it. That's the important thing. We have that potential and we can accept this precious gift that's offered, right? So that's the very idea. And I think that's enough for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bhante. We now move on to the questions, or before that, we move on to the reports that we have received to present to Bhante for his feedback. And to start this and the questions, I now invite Samantha.
Thank you, Sonali. Avasarai Bhante, thank you for that really valuable talk and advice. That's really helpful, how thoughts can lead to anxiety and if you follow them. So if anyone has any questions regarding the talk and their experiences, please do ask Bhante at the end of the when the reports are being read at the question and answer time. And before I go on to read this week's reports, Bhante, we have one report. I would just like to remind any newcomers to the program just quickly just give a brief guidance, basic guidance on how to meditate and submit your weekly reports to Bhante. Sonali will put all the details in the chat with all the emails and how to do this, and give a report of your meditation report as well. And there are two helpful, as you can see when in the chat later on, you can see there are video links put together by Nisarana Vanaya on mindful walking and mindful sitting, just like what we did at the beginning of the session. You can allocate some time for the practice daily, and starting with walking and then sitting gradually, recommended to build up to 2 hours per day. And then please submit your experiences in writing, both for mindful walking and mindful sitting, to Bhante or Venerable Rohini. There's an example in the chat. Sonali's just put how to do this. For example, if you're walking, you can describe any prominent sensations, texture of the ground, or pressure points of the sole, how the body weight shifted. Similarly, in sitting meditation, again, as we did this morning, you can refer to any prominent sensations, incoming and outgoing breath at the nostrils, or rising of the abdomen, etc. And also important not to forget to write your report experiences on mindfulness on the daily activities during the day. Then in the session, Bhante or Venerable Rohini will give valuable guidance for your own practice and how to progress in your meditation. You can see, you can then send your reports either in the Google form as in the link or by email. All the details are provided in the chat. So this is a really good opportunity to get personal guidance from Bhante or Venerable Rohini on your meditation progress. And you can continue with your mindfulness practice during the week according to the advice given for your own report during the session. So that really is beneficial, and you can get personal advice on how to improve your mindfulness practice. Finally, as in the in further recordings, as in the chat, the recordings of the sessions are available to revisit at the link given in the chat. I think all the details are there now. So now I will go on to read this week's reports. Just have a look. So Bhante, we have one report, Bhante from an adult. The report is Venerable Swamin Mahansa, mindful walking. Place carpeted floor in the room. Time 7:40 a.m. Duration 50 minutes. Primary object sensations on soles, weather, adverse weather. I was not well, fever, stomach problem, severe headache, body pain, runny nose. Despite of all the obstacles, went for a mindful walk. First, I walked freely a few times. Then I observed feet as left and right, felt the roughness and the hardness of the floor. Further felt dryness and the warmth of the floor. Thoughts came to my mind regarding an incident in the morning. It was very difficult to focus my attention on attention to foot, but time to time could feel the roughness of the floor, felt like giving up, thought of doing later, but continued as the allocated time duration was not over, as the allocation time duration was not over. Heard sounds, sad thoughts appeared. After some time, felt calm, was happy that I didn't quit. Mindful sitting, place on the cushion in the room, time 9 a.m., duration 25 minutes. Primary object, abdominal movements. Sat and listened to sounds, then observed belly motions. There were rapid movements which gradually grew slower. Later the motions were vague. Then observed the touching of legs, hands, and hardness on the cushion. With time, the sensations became lighter. Teruvan Saranai, Utum Swami Mahansa. That's the end of the report, Bante.
Okay, thanks for presenting. Now, you can see even during a meditation session, it's easier to quit. Our mind will create various plans, ideas, suggestions to quit the session that we have started, right? But if you continue, then probably the other side of the session you can find a calmer mind. That's what you have experienced in your practice. That's how it works. It's easier to give up, it's easier to quit, but when you continue only, you get to see the other side of it. You get to see how the thoughts calm down. You get to see how those incidents disappear. Right? That's the very idea of the practice. No matter what you do, initially you feel friction, whether it's meditation or whether it's work, whether it's doing something else. Initially, it is natural that you feel friction, but you somehow continue. And when you continue, you see how it becomes much easier. The whole process uh, comes under your control. That's the very idea. And whatever the thoughts that you mention about an incident in the morning, those thoughts, it comes naturally, and it's like the recovery process that we explained earlier. So that recovery, you have very little control. You have to allow those thoughts to come and go, and whenever they come, you feel hurt, you feel sadness, right? The whole process you will have to go through. But when you practice, you can see that with time, the resilience, that very quality will improve, and as a result, you recover much faster. The same type of incidents appear, you feel sadness, you feel hurt, but you get to recover much faster due to the repetitive training that you have given your mind. That's the very idea. So when we are facing an incident like that, we have very little control over the recovery. But over time, we can improve the ability to recover. That's the very idea. So keep training yourself, and in time, you will see that you recover much faster. The way of the training is the same process that you are doing. Walking, sitting, and daily practices. You try to continue with mindfulness. That's the very idea, that's the very practice. And when you continue for few months, few years, then you get to see the difference that comes as a result of the repetitive practice. So continue and let us know your progress once again.
Thank you, Bante. Now that's the end of all the reports. Now, if there's anyone who has any, sorry, anyone who has any questions on the talk, today's talk, or on their practice, please raise your hand, and or if you want, you can put the your question in the chat, and I will read it out to Bante during the session. Just give a few minutes for anyone if they have any questions. I think at the moment we haven't, doesn't look as if we've got any hands raised, but till we, I think, till we get anyone who has any questions to ask, I just want to say, Bante, that was in that talk, it's a very common thing, how thoughts really, I've noticed, how really affects the mind and one's mood as well, emotions, and proliferating on these thoughts can really have a negative effect. I personally have noticed that. And when Bante said, so it's good to sort of like put the attention when this happens, so to the body sensations, and then that's how we keep practicing. However, this is boring, and then the mind doesn't like to be with the body sensations, which I've experienced, which is true. And so the mind keeps like to go back to the colorful thinking or the negative or whatever. So I was just thinking now, how can I make this mind not to go to the present, the body sensations, and make it more lively and not so boring? So one thing I noticed was when I did do that for a few minutes, I reflected on the mind before it was stressful, when I had the unpleasant thoughts, and afterwards it was nice, it's calmer. Just like actually in the report, that the report that I read out, the person said they didn't quit, and after some time felt calm and was happy that they didn't quit. So I was just thinking, then I must show the mind that this is how, the practice, the happiness. So would that be an incentive? So obviously I had to carry on, doing my meditation to increase it. Would that be the incentive to show the mind that this is the best peaceful state to be within the body, and it's not really boring, because that's where the ultimate peace and happiness, as Bante said, will be, not in thought proliferation. What would Bante advise, please, to not be bored by being in the, to make it more interesting to be with the bodily sensations or the breath? Thank you, Bante.
Yes, so two parts. The first one is your idea, and that's an insightful thought. Now, by repetitively practicing, not giving up, although the mind suggests to give up, right? We can show the mind that at the end of it, at the other side of it, you can really find peace. You can really experience a certain level of calm. Right? So repetitively you train yourself, repetitively you go through that difficult patch, and you show the mind in the other side of it. You can really feel a certain level of peace or calm. Right? So that way we have to tell this mind that there is a better state. Telling once won't do, or showing once won't do. You have to repetitively show the mind that there is a better state than the friction that we are experiencing. Right? So that repetitive training is important. Repetitively you are showing your mind that through the practice you can experience calmer states of mind. That way you can really show. That's why repetitive practice is important. Every day you do your daily walking sitting session. You try to maintain a certain level of mindfulness in your daily encounters. That way you repetitively show the mind that through the practice you can experience better states, calmer states, right? So that's an insightful idea. That's how we can really show the mind that there's a different state than the friction or the anxiety that we are experiencing, right? So that experience we have to show it time after time, and as a result one day the mind will accept this change. It's like, learning the hard way. You tell your mind it won't work. You advise your mind it won't work. But you go through the very experience repetitively. And that way of learning is effective. So with the practice, we are showing our minds that there is a better state than the difficult state we are experiencing currently. Right? So that's a good thought. That process would work. That's why we do our daily practice. Then the second part is how to make the present moment more interesting. And that's something where we can be creative. For example, let's say when it comes to those Sati Pasala sessions, we introduce various mindful activities and games. When we introduce mindfulness as a game or activity, then it becomes interesting, right? That way we can even teach children, keep them engaged, right? So those creative ways are there, especially for seasoned practitioners. We encourage them to exercise their bodies, and that way they can become mindful, right? For example, things like yoga. It encourages mindful breathing and body awareness. So if you spend a couple of hours doing that, then naturally the present moment becomes interesting, and through the exercising you can become mindful, more present, right? Then various daily activities or various hobbies or things like gardening, that way we can introduce mindfulness as mindful activities. And for children we introduce certain games, kind of things like that. right? So various ways are there, various tools are there to make the present moment more interesting. And that way, we can easily bring the attention to the present moment. Except for our daily meditation, these things are valid. Try and see, especially things like, workouts. They can really help.
Thank you, Bante. That's really encouraging, and I will do that. In fact, I think the even in the act of being mindful, because I didn't really like washing dishes before, especially when you see a sink full of dishes, but then when I thought about it and I was actively, mindfully washing dish by dish, then eventually the process became better. And now when I face the dishes, I'm not, uh, scared. I quite enjoy it because it gives the mind the peace, and I like that. Thank you, Bante.
Yes, so such things you can make them some kind of a interesting activity, mindful activity. That approach will help you to, practice mindfulness and you don't curse the situation. Most of us, we will have to go through these experiences, these tasks, these chores, and in the mind, probably they are cursing while doing them. So, no benefit, no. You have to anyway do the activity, and as a result, you create additional friction in the mind. You change that attitude, you take it as a fun game or hobby, and it creates so much benefit. You do the daily chore or the activity and you make it a part of your practice. So these things are interesting ways to introduce mindfulness to life.
Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu. So, yeah, we have a hand raised by Ashini. Ashini, yeah, I'll ask you a question to Bante. Thank you.
Swamini Hansa, Theron Sarnai, Swamini Hansa. Now, when I have a chain of thoughts, is it alright to repeat thoughts 3 times and bring back my attention to the main object? I mean, like mentally verbalizing thoughts 3 times, so that I have experience when I do like that. It is easy to get the attention back into the main object, but is it okay to do like that, Sona?
Yes, if it works for you, then of course it's a valid way. It's okay to do. So try and see if it is helpful. Then you can use such tools to remind yourself to be present. But make sure that you do it gracefully. Otherwise, you create additional difficulty due to repetitive labeling, and that's not good. So you have to be patient with the process and skillfully find ways to return your attention to the present moment. It's a valid way. You have to use it wisely.
Thank you. It's for you, Sona. There answer, Sona.
We don't have any more hands raised. I think that was the last question. So, if anyone hasn't got any other questions or any talks on their practice of the talk, then shall I hand back to Sonali to wrap up? Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you to everyone who asked questions and for the reports that were submitted as well. I will now have a small announcement to make. It is just to remind everyone to keep sending your topic ideas and any feedback about the session to us via the email. You can type it in or just simply tell one of the organizers, one of the co-hosts, and we will be able to incorporate that in the future sessions. So I will now move on to end the session. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you to everyone who's helped us. And most importantly, thank you, Venerable Homagama Dhammakusala Thero, for your continued guidance on this program. And also, we can't forget the Chief Abbot of Nisarana Vanaya, Venerable Udayiriyagama Dhammajiva Mahathero, whose idea was to initiate this program as well. May these merits help them improve their own practice as well. To everyone who's participated today, thank you. And for ones who are joining via the YouTube channel, thank you to them as well. And we will, as usual, bring the program to you at 1 p.m. on Sri Lankan time. And may you all have a happy and mindful week ahead. I will now stop recording and end the session for everyone.